Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Okay, so just like I said in the previous video that was kind of similar in its framing to this one, we're gonna have a lot of these, let's call them Trump drops, probably hitting on an almost daily basis straight till Inauguration Day. Obviously, Donald Trump won the 2024 presidential election, and now it's time to not only put the cabinet together, which is clearly something that's happening, and the left is losing their mind because Elon Musk apparently is having a say in that process. But anyways, not just the cabinet picks, we've also got the policy drops. And Trump's doing it Trump style. You don't gotta go to the Trump campaign website, or now I guess transition team website, to figure out all the fine details, or frankly to read a laundry list of false promises, fake promises that the campaign doesn't actually intend on doing. Nope, it's a little bit different with the Trumpinator in office. You get a personalized video of the president-elect announcing exactly what the policy proposal is, and it's just legendary. It's gift after gift. The man is staying true to his words, true to his promises, and it's pretty much policy Christmas. Of course, the left is throwing a hissy fit. It's the end of the world as we know it, when in reality, it's the end of their bullshit as we know it. Let's have a conversation about that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, friends, so here's the latest policy announcement directly from the mouth of President-elect, the incoming 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse. We're going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up, all those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states. Thank you very much.
Now, you really have to admit it's a breath of fresh air to see a president who can think and speak for himself. Enough of the soulless approach that we've seen from establishment politicians, and especially the Democrat Party, where the media seems to play the role at deciphering what's going on, updating the people on what the shadowy cabal behind the scenes is doing in Washington. You know, back to the Trump style. He just opens up the camera, turns on the mic, and says, listen, people, this is what we're doing. And this latest announcement, it's another one for the history books. He's sending it back to the states. 100%, in my opinion, the right decision. Now, is that going to lead to great results in California? Probably not, but at least other states that want to do the right thing are no longer going to have their hands tied behind their backs, as they're no longer forced to follow the failed central planning of the federal government. It's about damn time, if you ask me. I know the left is just feigning outrage, as they usually do. Oh, how could you get rid of the Department of Education? What, do you not want kids to be educated? No, token leftoid that exists in my mind. That's not what's happening. I think what Republicans are calling for here isn't to end education, it's to end left-wing, far-left, cultural Marxist indoctrination, not education. It's time to end the systemic failures. And that right there is where they lose the argument, right? And I'm saying that as a segue because they're literally losing the argument to themselves. This tweet went viral, gathering 1.1 million views before the owner decided to delete the tweet. But thankfully, most things are archived on the internet. This ex-user tweeted, oh, by the way, middle schoolers can't read, high schoolers can't write a proper essay, college students can't differentiate a scholarly-based article versus propaganda, and adults can't tell when a picture is AI, but sure, get rid of the Department of Education, LOL. Exactly like I said, their argument doesn't even stand up to their own BS. How extreme. You want to end the Department of Education? The same department that's systematically failing across the nation? Are you crazy? Yeah, we're the crazy ones, right? That is exactly the point. For decades, the department has overseen a system plagued with inefficiencies, poor outcomes, and yes, rampant political and social indoctrination. And so you know what it's time for? It's time for a bold move that's long overdue. And that's exactly what's happening, and it's sending shockwaves throughout the political sphere, and all the right people are panicking. How dare he? Nobody cares about the fake outrage anymore. Trying to psychologically bully people into submission. People want accountability, and most importantly, results. The left can feign moral outrage all they want. The typical response every single time. How dare you?
How dare you?
But the people know. They know that at its core, education is supposed to prepare children for adult life, equip them with the skills to think critically, to solve problems, and become responsible citizens. However, what do we see today? We've seen an education system that has veered dramatically off course. Instead of focusing on essential subjects like math, sciences, and literacy, and oh, how could I forget probably the most important missing component to the education that young Americans receive these days, financial literacy, schools have become instead battlegrounds for political ideology. Yeah, no wonder college students can't differentiate a study coming from a scholarly journal versus propaganda. They're literally being propagandized. They're told not to look at studies, but rather to just insert the current thing into their memory banks. They're not being taught how to critically think. In fact, they're not being taught how to think at all. They're being taught what to think. And that's got to come to an end. And Trump is saying exactly that. He's not saying, let's strip the next generation of funding for education. He's saying, let's get back to the basics, teaching life skills, balancing a budget, understanding civics, understanding critical thought, maybe, just maybe, being exposed to opposing ideologies and learning how to deal with ideological differences, learning how to debate ideas rather than being turned into a weapon of the left with the specific design of shutting down conversation and turning on people with different ideas. Enough. It's that simple. The current education system is producing a generation of fragile, entitled young adults who are ill-equipped to handle the pressures of the real world. They can't handle words. They feel entitled to comfort, and they're obviously underprepared for the responsibilities of basic adulthood. And so now it's time to demand a little, to maybe get back to the old ways of doing things a little bit, because obviously this cultural Marxist new vision for education hasn't worked. And it's obvious that the Federal Department of Education's centralized power has meant that a single political party can influence what is taught in schools across the entire country. Trump is right to want to end this federal stranglehold on education. The Constitution does not grant the federal government the power to dictate education policy. That right has always belonged to the states and local communities. And so dismantling the Department of Education has to be the first logical step, right? Putting the power and putting control where it belongs, closer to the teachers and local administrators who understand the needs of their communities. Not to mention the importance of giving people school choice. It's time to take power out of the hands of the unions, the powerful lobbies, the puppet masters in Washington, and put the power back in the hands of local communities who want to do right by their next generation. Trump's plan to end the Department of Education, again, isn't about being anti-education. It's about rescuing schools from the clutches of corrupt, failing bureaucracy that prioritizes politics over children's futures, that prioritizes the teachers' unions over the students. In my view, this is long overdue. It's time to send the power back to the states, and it's time to demand accountability. Since the creation of the Department of Education, the United States of America has gone from leading the world in education to now trailing in education. It's time to stop playing the union's game and protecting these entitled teachers, and it's probably time to start fighting for the interest of the actual students going through the American education pipeline. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not offended. I'm not buying into the whole fear-mongering around this topic. Quite the contrary, I think Donald Trump is choosing his battles, I'd say, quite perfectly. The man once again courageously treads a path that no other politician would have the balls to walk down. He doesn't care about the backlash or the media hysteria. He just wants to do the right thing. You gotta love to see it. And the fact that he delivers the message personally, well, it just makes it that much better and that much more authentic. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.